Hi there, it's time to look at XRP Ripple price through the Wyckoff lens and see what are the whales doing. If you're new to my sessions, I'll cover the Wyckoff stages, the trend change risk, as well as key price levels, and these are not financial advice. So let's start with the weekly chart of Ripple. Here, as we discussed last week, Ripple is going through a late stage distribution, meaning it's showing us some sign of weakness both 4 weeks ago as well as this week. And what to expect next from the big picture point of view, I see two possible scenarios. All right, one scenario is that it is still within the distribution, like these blue tags illustrate, and that if the narratives turn positive or news turns positive, there's a chance for it to re-challenge the purple key level of 3.38, meaning a potential creation of an upthread of the distribution. That's a peak. That means a peak, okay, higher than the previous two, back in February or January and July last year. That was the buying climax in January 2025, as well as an upthrust peak in mid-July 2025. Okay, that's the positive scenario if the macro environment turns people back to risk-on mode. Not that we're seeing that now, okay? Just in case it turns positive, that's a possibility. The other scenario where I see there are two branches in the second scenario. This scenario is more pessimistic if the world is heading towards a more risk-off mode. Like you see the gold and silver prices are still going up. People are still pulling money out from riskier assets. Then here, what we would see is Ripple getting into accumulation cycle, meaning the price may get challenged and it may test lower support levels. Currently is between the 1.8 orange key level and the 2.05 yellow key level. You see it bounces between these levels. And if it does come down, why I say there are two branches for this scenario. First, we assume that Ripple hasn't entered accumulation yet. Okay, that's the scenario one or the branch one. If that's the case, that means when it comes down to actually into an accumulation cycle, it may accumulate somewhere around the red key level of 1.55 or even lower, because October 10th showed us that Ripple can go all the way to 80 cents. All right, not that we want to see that happening again, but that can happen. So what's branch number two? Branch number two is that Ripple has already entered accumulation. So what I tagged over here, the sign of weakness as well as this last point of supply, are basically the selling climax and the automatic rally. Okay, there's a possibility that the panic over stage happened back in late or near the end of December last year, around the Christmas week, and that what we have seen 3 weeks ago was actually the automatic rally that went all the way to challenge the green key level of 2.45. So I'll leave a question mark over here. When we get in further into the first quarter of this year, we will see what that actually is. Because sometimes, or a lot of times, people are expecting the price to go back down to a level where the price previously accumulated before the distribution cycle. However, sometimes they just don't do it that way. They don't return to the previous low. They start to accumulate at a higher level. There are multiple reasons that can contribute to these kind of scenarios. In the case of Ripple, you can contribute to that Ripple's long-term legal battle that's been haunting it for years is now gone, and that people are expecting its base price to be higher than before. And also the technology or new features that Ripple has developed or deployed, as well as the partnerships in the payment world that it is adding to its portfolio. That makes people think that the base price is no longer what it was back in 2002 all the way to 2024. Okay, that's why such possibility happens, that it accumulates at a high level. Now let's get to the daily chart. Last week I already shared these dates. When we get nearer to the end of this month, there's only around 10 to 11 days time, and there's a chance that the price would pump up and then confirm a trend change. The current trend is still within the downward channel that's started back in July last year. Okay, that's near the end of July last year. It started its very first deep drop, and then subsequently for the entire half year, for the entire 6 months, we're still within this downward channel. So very positive case to confirm trend change by the end of this month. If it continues what it is doing right now, meaning the price bounces between the orange key level of 1.8 and the yellow key level of 2.05, then the more natural date of a trend change confirmation would come in near the end of March. Alright, there are 2 dates over there, 25th and 29th. It doesn't have to wait till that day, but it's more reasonable to expect that would happen closer to those dates if the price continued to be suppressed between the yellow and the orange. Of course, if some positivity comes in earlier, say in February, if the date of 31st of this month is missed, but February things turns more positive, and the boost push the price back to above the yellow key level of 2.05, then you see this second chance that comes somewhere before 20th of February. Alright, so those are the pictures for Ripple right now. If you're interested to access these sessions 2 days earlier than the others, it's time to join the membership now. See you in the next